Looks like we're live. Hello everyone and welcome to yet another recreational programming session with Mr. Zuzin. Let's make a little bit of announcement and officially start the stream. Hello, welcome. So today we're doing Red Circle live on Twitch. And what are we doing today on Twitch.tv website? Today we are implementing multi-user chat in Go plus Redis. Yes, that's a very interesting topic, very unusual one for me, because I usually don't try to tackle these kind of topics, right? So because, well, I mean, I can develop network applications on my local machine. I can do that, but it's not that interesting if nobody except me can participate in that. And to make everyone participate in this kind of activity of like a network multi-user application, we need to have some sort of a VPS, and I didn't really have enough resources to rent VPS until recently. We actually created an option for the viewers to donate for the service, right? So essentially, if you do donate command, there is a link in here, right? So there's a very cool hosting called Zap Hosting. I'm not sponsored by it, by the way. I just personally think that this kind of feature is very cool. So essentially, by that link, you can donate a little bit of money, and I can use that money to rent VPS servers for different projects and stuff like that. Right. So people, actually, you don't need to donate anything right now because people already donated quite enough for me to cover like a year of my bot hosting or something like that. So it's actually, thank you so much everyone who donated. It really means a lot for me, right? So, and what I decided to do today, I decided to test the format of like network project development, right? So where I develop a network application and I deploy it live, and everyone is trying to use it live and see how quickly we can break it, right? So that would be interesting, right? So that would be interesting. So we're gonna start with something super simple. As I already said, it's gonna be just a chat application. I decided to go with a very sort of like safe technology, right? So that is like really battle tested. So we're gonna develop everything in Go. Go already in a standard library has a quite convenient network capabilities, right? So the network package just allows you to just listen to TCP connections right away. And for the database, I didn't want to spend too much time on setting up like a proper database, like a PostgreSQL or anything like that. So I thought something like Redis is going to be enough. I never actually used Redis, by the way. I never actually used Redis. So it's going to be a little bit of a, learning experience for me, but I kind of understand the basics, right? So I kind of understand the basics. It's basically a hash table with a mutex over a TCP connection. Right, isn't it? Right, so it's a hash table with a mutex. Like I tweeted that right before the stream, and I think judging by the replies, I think I triggered quite a few people by saying that. But anyway, so let's actually start the development. Okay, so I don't know how we're going to develop the client. Right, well, we're going to start with the server, right? So we're going to start with the server, and the server is going to just listen to TCP connections. And a client, let's say that the client is going to be just like a telnet for now, right? Because telnet allows you to just connect over TCP, over some ports and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe we won't have any particular client, right? So maybe it's going to be telnet. But stuff like basic commands would allow people to come up with their own clients, right? So telnet is like a bare bones client, but maybe people will come up with their own stuff. Maybe netcat, right? So netcat is even better, right? So because telnet is sort of like a very like specific tool for specific purposes, and netcat is more general purpose, right? So in any case, so let's go ahead and start developing the thing. So how should we call our chat application? How should we call it? So what I was thinking is, right, if you spell chat in Russian, right, so in Russian, it actually looks like this. This is how you spell chat, not just in Russian, but in Cyrillic, right? So this is how chat looks in Cyrillic. So in Cyrillic, we have an entire letter, yat, right? People call it yacht. So we have an entire letter that represents CH, right? So we have an entire letter for that. So, and it's, you know, people who don't know Cyrillic and they see this letter for the first time, they quite often say that it looks like 4. So what if we just like call it literally like this? Right. And by the way, so if you ever seen Russian epic hackers on the internet and their nicknames and stuff like that, you probably notice that they quite often use like digits 3 and 4 3 and 4 in their nicknames, and you ever wondered what the fuck that even means? These are basically Cyrillic letters, right? So we literally have Cyrillic letters that look like this, right? So they're basically replacing Cyrillic letters with numbers, right? Because the Latin ones don't have them. Right, so that's basically what it means. So let's call it 4.8. 4.8. Let's call it 4.8. So 4.8. I think it's a pretty cool name. So let's create a main go. 4.8. That's actually pretty cool, right? So with like a at. That's pretty deep lore. That's a pretty deep lore. Emacs. I swear to God, Emacs. So let's write hello world. How do you program in Go? I don't remember. I know that you have to import FMT. Right, you have to import FMT and then you do something like hello world. Right, so you just do something like hello world. And I think you also have to specify the package. Right, and of course you should not forget a lot of semicolons, because without the semicolons it's not going to work. The more semicolons you have, the better. Right, and let's actually try to build that specific file and see what's gonna happen. So is it gonna build? Is it gonna build now? It's building, right? So just like warming up the caches, guys. It's not my laptop being slow. It's just warming up the caches. Right, so and let's actually run this entire thing, and it says hello world. We learned how to use Go. Right, that's pretty cool. So as far as I know, there's like literally, I think, like a network package, right? So there's literally a network package with a lot of bugs. That's a lot of bugs. Should we really use this package? Look at the amount of bugs. But anyway, right. So there's a network package. And I think, yeah, so there you go. So here is the simplest server that you can have. You can listen on a TCP on a specific port, right? And then you can have an infinite loop that accepts connections, and then you go and handle that connection, right? So we can just right away, you know, copy paste this entire. How I couldn't actually select the entire paragraph for some reason, but anyway. Right, let's actually put this thing in here, and let me maybe reformat this entire stuff. It doesn't really want to reformat Emacs. Stupid Emacs. Huh. So maybe we could use go FMT. Can you just do go FMT my shit, please? So and then if I revert this entire thing, there we go. It was formatted successfully. So let's remove this entire shit, and let's go ahead and include net. I think that's how we're gonna do that. So in case of an error, so we're gonna say, like, you couldn't even listen to this port, so I think the only thing we can do is just crash. And to be fair, who uses port 8080 in 2023? Like, seriously, who the fuck uses this kind of port? I didn't think we should use this kind of port. It should be 6969, obviously. Maybe it should be even some sort of constant, like 6969. Right, so 6969 and then plus port in here, like so. So TCP port. So what should we say in here? We should say something like error could not listen to epic port 6969 because of this error, right? Because of that specific error. So this is the port, this is the error, and we probably should also like exit with non-zero exit code, and we probably have to do something like this, right? So afterwards, if we couldn't accept the connection, I don't think it should be actually killing the entire server, right? If it's a temporary sort of like thing. So I think we should just log that we couldn't accept a connection and continue accepting the connections, right? So I think that's a good idea. So let's say something like error could not accept a connection, right? And I'm going to print that error here specifically, but we're not going to exit or anything like that, right? We're not going to exit or anything like that. So, and then we're starting to handle connection, so we don't have that function. So if we try to build this entire thing, right, so let's go ahead and build this entire thing. So what is going to happen? What is going to happen? So we don't have a handle connection. So the question is, what's the type of con, right? So what's the type of con? That's a very interesting question. So we get the con from accept, and accept is a method of ln that comes from the listen. So let's take a look at the definition of a listen. Go doc listen. So what do we have in here? So this entire thing returns a listener. Right, so it returns a listener, whatever that's supposed to mean. So let's take a look at the listener. And the listener returns con and error. So the thing that we're supposed to accept in here has actually type con, specifically netcon. Right, and the connection, it's actually reader and writer, so you can read and write into all of these things. You can close this entire stuff, you can get the IP. So essentially, if you connect to my server, I can see your IP. So be aware of that. By the way, speaking of, right, so I'm gonna try not to show your IP on the stream, right? So I'm not gonna try to like intentionally show it, but just be aware so that I personally can see it. But I make a promise, right, is that I'm not gonna show, I'm gonna make everything to not accidentally show it. So it was B into the chat, yes. Anyways, right, so what we have to accept con in here, right, so maybe even net con. So what we're gonna do in here, I suppose maybe we can write something, right? Maybe we can write something. So because connection has write, we can just go ahead and do con write. And what should we write? So let's actually do a very simple, for now, very simple application that accepts TCP connections, says hi to you, and closes without any elaboration, right? So that will be interesting, I think, right? So basically you join, it says hi, and it just closes, and that's it. That is basically it. So what should we say? So we should say something like hello, meine Freunde. Okay, crowd. Did I spell it correctly, by the way? Right, so let's anyway, so I'm not even sure you're supposed to put comma in here. Right, so and this entire thing is supposed to return the amount of characters it's written and an error. So let's actually accept all of these things. Right, so this is going to be that. And essentially, if we didn't write enough things, maybe we should not even, you know, retry. Because quite often this kind of application try to write like the remaining. So I think I'm not going to bother with that, right? If you didn't read everything, it's your problem, not mine. Right, so let's actually check for the error. If error not equal nil, we can do a little bit of a logging. By the way, isn't there like a logging package in Go? So did I fuck up the spelling, by the way? How am I supposed to spell everything? So I'm not supposed to capitalize this thing, right? And I'm not supposed to put comma. Is that correct now? Yeah, I think that is correct now. So yeah, I'm sorry. Like I don't know German, so this is correct. Alrighty. So where I stopped, I think we had some sort of like a logging package in Go. I'm pretty sure we had something like that. So let's actually go doc log. Yeah, there we go. So package log implements a simple login package. It defines a type logger with methods for formatting and stuff like that. I wonder if it has like automatic log rotation and logging into files and stuff like that. Probably not, because it says it's a simple login package. But I suppose it maybe implements an interface so you can implement all of these things yourself, right? So because there's like type logger, but there's no interfaces there. Right, so I don't see any interfaces. Yeah. Anyways, so we can use that instead of FMT, right? And every time we use FMT, we can say log. And as far as I know, like there is an entire sort of method for this kind of thing. Let me see. So I think it's like a fail, right? So there's a fail F. Or fatal F, actually. It's called fatal F, and it's equivalent of calling printf and then os exit 1. Right, we can literally just use that. Okay, so that's cool. So log fatal F, and I don't have to do that. Pretty cool. And here I can just do log printf, because this thing is not fatal. It's not gonna kill anything, but this one is fatal. It's gonna actually crash. Okay, so that like looks a little bit more neat. Not like it matters that much, but I mean, it looks pretty neat. So maybe because of that we don't need OS anymore. Yeah, OS is not used anymore. Anyways, so if we encountered an error, we're not gonna crash, right? So we're gonna just log saying that could not write message to S. And what do we have within the connection? What do we have within the connection? Go doc. What do we have in here? Do we have the address? Okay, so we have a remote address. We have a remote address. So that means I should be able to do something very sneaky. Could not write message to remote ADDR. And it goes into the logs. Remember what I said, chat? If you can connect to my server, your remote address is gonna be logged. It is gonna be logged. I'm really sorry to tell you that, but it's going to be logged. There's like, yeah, I mean, if somebody's gonna be doing some malicious stuff, I wanna know who that person is. I'm not gonna show it publicly, of course. I'm not gonna show it publicly, but I wanna see who that person is. About to see it in the European code. Fuck. Okay, so sure, that's so according to GDPR, you're not supposed to log that thing. How am I? Okay, so what do I do then? But I mean, it's important information. So is it? Can I do that if it's important? It's essential for the service to function. Okay, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. If that is essential for a service to function, you can't store it though. Okay, I'm gonna remove it after the stream. All right, so okay, I'm not gonna even store it. I'm gonna print it to standard output, and yeah, I'm not gonna show the standard output. So that's how it's gonna be. All right. So, anyways, could not write message to that person, and because of this specific error. Right, and after that, I suppose we want to return out of this entire function. So if there was no error, but we didn't write everything, I think I would like to report that to the user, to the admin anyway. Right, to the admin anyway. If I can remember correctly, if you tell us that you are using our IPs, it's GDPR compliant. What's interesting is that I'm not really using your IPs. I'm just like logging them for the debug purposes, right? So I'm not going to be using them for anything. I'm not going to be storing them in databases yet. I might for the security purposes, because maybe there will be some sort of a rate limits or something like that. Right. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyways. So we probably need to store this message somewhere. Right. So we need to store this message somewhere. Damn, this is so scary. Like I'm just sitting you know, on Twitch, developing my like my personal project, and I can violate the laws of European Union by writing just a single line of code. Imagine that, just like, you know, sitting and just developing like a pet project for yourself, not commercial, not anything like that. You write a single line, you already violated European Union laws, and there you go. You won't be able to actually travel to European Union, and that's it. You're a criminal, literally criminal, unless you remove that single line and everyone is okay. Everyone is okay. But you bring that line back, you're a fucking criminal. Fuck you. Anyway. European Union. Anyways, just commented when you hear the police knocking down on your door. Okay, so that's a good idea actually. All right. So let's see if n is less than the length of the message, right? So we know that no error has happened, but here we see that not everything was written into the connection. We probably gonna just, you know, say printf the message was not fully written, right? So, and that's basically right. So we can say something like d, right, and then here we can do n and then message. So I don't think it's gonna happen too often, right? But if it's gonna happen, so we probably want to know that. So, and after that, we probably want to close the connection. To be fair, we want to close the connection regardless, like at any point. So maybe what we're gonna do in this function, we're gonna defer this entire thing, right? So we're gonna defer, so at the end, it's going to close this entire stuff, right? Okay, so that's a simple sort of thing that we can have in here. So let me just try to build this entire stuff. Let me just try to build this entire thing. Oh, okay, so it's a bytes. We have to cast this entire thing to bytes, and is that good? Might as well, by the way, just convert it to bytes in here. Right, so just convert to bytes in here. So when we do length, we actually take the amount of bytes in there. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's ASCII in here. Right, so it's ASCII in here. So, okay, so it compiles and it seems to be working. So let's actually maybe also log. Right, so here we successfully created the thing. So we successfully listening to 6969. I think it makes sense to just say something like listening to TCP connections on port S, like so, right? So on port S, and this is going to be the port that we're listening to, right? So maybe it would make sense to actually put a new line in here. Let me see. So in some places I forgot to put new lines. I think that's quite important. So let me see. Okay, okay. So let's rebuild that one more time, and can we just run it? All right, listening to TCP connections on port 6969. Can we connect to this entire thing? I'm gonna do telnet 127.0.0.1.69.69, and what we got? Hello, meine Freunde, kick out, and a connection closed by foreign host. Okay, so I think it would make sense to maybe even do something about that, right? So put a new line in here. I think having a new line at the end would be actually quite good, right? So I think having a new line in here would be quite good. So let me see. So I'm gonna do go rebuild. As far as I know, there is a go run, right? So you can just run this entire thing, and we can do telnet. And there we go. So this is what we got. Hello, meine Freunde, Kraut. And we can do that as many times as we want. And surprisingly, it doesn't really say anything when we connect. It doesn't really say anything when we connect, maybe. So that will be interesting. So maybe we should say something, because we really don't log anything. So we can say something log, printf, accepted connection from getting dangerous. So yeah, here's the thing. So we get hello mine from there, but at the same time, I also see your IP address. Leaked IP address. Okay, so what we have to do about all of that? Maybe we should have some sort of a like mode. All right. So streamer mode. So const streamer mode, and by default it's gonna be like true. Right, and essentially every time you try to access a remote address, right? So here is the remote address. And by the way, I would like to maybe take a look at doc net connection remote address. Is that a string? Is that a string? Okay, so it is an address. So, and if I take a look at the address, it is a thing that have a string. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that maybe I could do something like if streamer mode. Oh, you don't have a ternary operator in Go, right? So you don't have anything like that in Go, right? You don't have anything like that. So no ternary. God damn. So we could have a function, right? So func remote address where you accept. Right. So let's say safe. Remote address, right? Safe remote address. If we are in a streamer mode, we return reducted. Otherwise, we return connection remote address string, and there you go. So that means I can do safe remote address. So where the other remote address we have in here, safe remote address. So we have to be super careful in here, right? And we can just try to. So streamer mode is maybe it should not be streamer mode, but safe mode. Let's go to safe mode. So let's run it. So there is some stuff in here, some semicolons. What are you talking about? Unexpected semicolon line. What? Oh yes, because safe mode. Sorry. Too many values. You're supposed to return a string. Okay, we're good to go. We're Gucci. We are in fact Tamaguchi. And now I can do telnet, and as you can see, accepted connection from redacted, right? So, and then if I remove the safe mode like so and rerun it like so, it is unsafe mode. I think that something like that exists in many applications. So there's always like I think like I remember that in Tor, right? So I'm using Tor for obvious reasons, right? Because I live in a very like information hostile environment, so and I need these kind of tools. And I remember that it had an option to basically like don't show the resolved domains or something like that in the logs. And you can enable or disable that, like depending on what exactly you're trying to achieve. So yesu, kawaii freaking desu. Right, so we're gonna do true. And okay, so listening, and we can try to do that. Okay, so the moment of truth. Can we just try to deploy that to a VPS server just to test it already? Can we try to test that shit already? Right, and let people connect to this thing and see the glorious message of "Hello, meine Freunde." Right, so let's give it a try. I think the time has come. So I'm gonna SSH to your mom. Right, so I prepared a VPS server on Zap. We entered your mom, by the way. We entered your mom. So, and what we're gonna do in here, so I think the thing I'm gonna do, right, so the thing I'm gonna do, right, so I'm gonna actually CD to here, right, so CD to here, and let's actually do SCP to your mom. We're gonna SCP that file right into your mom. Your mom, I think it's home, your mom. So let's SCP that shit there. There we go. So, and on top of that, I think I'm gonna do TeamUX. I think doing all of that in TeamUX is gonna be rather rather useful. So we can do the build, right? So yeah, so you have to have like a mod file and stuff like that. And there you go. We're listening to TCP connections. We're listening to TCP connections. So the IP, right? The IP of that specific machine is going to be, so SSH config. There we go. So here's the IP. So this is the IP of your mom. So, and the port is of course 6969. So try to do the telnet there, and holy shit. So yeah, it works. So does it say? So you guys are DDoSing the server right now. You guys are DDoSing the server. All right. So now I'm gonna press Ctrl C, and it's gone. Right. So there's nothing in there. Right. So there's nothing in there. So it should be gone. All right, that's very interesting. That is very, very interesting, actually. So what we want to do? We want to probably essentially accept messages from the users, right? So we want to be able to accept the messages from the users. So let me actually close all of these connections. Right, so let's close all these connections. So now in this specific thing, right, so when we hand in the connection, we can say hello meine Freunde, but at the same time we can probably initialize some sort of a loop, right? So some sort of a loop in which we're going to be listening to the messages from the user, right? So from the messages from the user. So how we're going to do that? So let's actually find out. So so go doc netcon, right? Netcon. So yeah, okay. So we can read, but we can read into like a fixed buffer, right? So if I understand correctly, so we need to have some sort of a fixed buffer. Let's allocate such fixed buffer, right? So this is going to be bytes. And how can I say that I want to have like a maybe 512? Is that how you do that, by the way? Is that how you say that this is the sort of the buffer that I want to work with? I think that's the one. So it's gonna be similar to IRC. Yeah. So it's gonna be similar to IRC. Let me try to build this entire thing. So it's gonna be my main goal. Buffer declaration is not used. Okay. So can I fmt print ln buffer to make it used? So undeclared. Oh yeah. So it has to be logged or something. Yeah. Okay. Apparently you can do it like that. So some people say you're supposed to use make, but I mean, it will work like that. So I think the client will resize the buffer. Really? So let's actually read about all of that. So I don't really want to resize the buffer. So net connection read. So let me see. Reads data from the connection. Read can be made to timeout and return an error after a fixed time limit. See set deadline, see that. Okay, that's very interesting. So they don't really say if it's going to resize the buffer or anything like that. They really don't say anything about that. Okay. So what are the things we have? So you can do set. So there is a set deadline, but where do you have all of that? So you can set the deadline. Says the read and write deadlines associated with the connection. It is equivalent to calling both set deadline and set read, set write. Okay, so you can set some sort of a deadline for the timeout and stuff like that. So they don't really say like if they're gonna resize or anything. How can we confirm or deny that the resize is going to happen? It won't. The size of the buffer is the limit it can read at once. Yeah, that would make sense to me. This is literally what I would expect. did the person that said that is going to resize this thing just basically trolling me? Because that thing makes sense, right? That's the sane architecture. That's the sane, you know, decision. Like resizing it seriously? Like, are you're trolling me? You're literally trolling me, right? And now I need to think like, how can I confirm that? So I like now I need to find the implementation, right? So there is a. Yeah, we need to actually start banning people like that, literally. It won't resize. Okay, we're gonna assume that it's not gonna resize that. Yeah, because like debates like that are literally waste of time. Seriously, like you're intentionally wasting my time. All right, so let's do this kind of stuff. So this is gonna be connection read buffer. Right, and this entire thing, of course, is going to do it like that. So we know how much we read, right? So we know how much we read. And what we can do, we can basically send that to everyone, to all of the existing connections, right? But how can we know all of the existing connections? How can we know all of the existing connections? So I think what we can do, we can have a separate sort of thread, right? We can have a separate thread to which you can send things, right? So essentially, we're going to be using the channels and stuff like that, right? So let me see. I forgot how to use channels, honestly, in Go. So Go channels. So it's basically the types, right, into which you can push some data, right, and they can communicate. You can use that to communicate between the threads and whatnot, right? So we basically making a channel of integers. So what I'm thinking, let's make a channel. Yeah. So here we're going to be accepting not only this connection, but also the like two channels probably. By the way, can channels be like two sides? Probably not, right? So we probably need two channels for like incoming messages and outgoing messages, right? So incoming is going to be like a channel. So it's probably just chan string, right? So we're going to have like a bunch of strings, and outgoing, right? So I think this is the more correct thing. Outgoing chan string. There we go. So and essentially, how are we going to do all of that? So to be fair, what we'll have to do, we will have to make the connection asynchronous, right? So we need to make the connection asynchronous, so then we can sort of like test, do we have anything new in here? If not, we can just see if we have something from somebody. Right, and if we received something from here, we should keep sending it in there. Though that basically means that, yeah, we want this thing. We want this thing to be sort of like a separate thread. So we probably want to have like separate threads dedicated to just receiving the messages and sending them over the channel, right? And the logic that handles all of that is going to be somewhere else, if you know what I mean. Right. So it's going to be somewhere else. All right, so you know what I want to do? I want to make a small break, and I want to make a cup of tea because I already ran out of my tea and I'm streaming for like an hour. So yeah, let's make a small break. I'm going to make a cup of tea and we're going to continue working on this connection thing. So... All right, so we're back. What I was thinking about like literally having a special handler, right? Just a special handler that listens for incoming connections, right? It just listens for incoming connections and sends all of the messages that it gets from there to this specific channel. So remember, some people said that channels have some sort of directions or something like that. So, right, I don't quite remember like how to properly do that, but I think that direction is used when you're trying to receive something from the channel, but we'll see, we'll figure it out. Because it's essentially just like Erlang, right? So essentially you have separate actor, which is like a concurrent entity, and it has a mailbox, right? In our case, mailbox is a channel, right? And basically it works like in any language where there are some channels, right? So why this particular thing would be any different? So I don't think it would be any different. Okay, good. So here we maintaining the connection, right? So we maintaining the connection and we read something from the connection. So one of the things I want to do go doc netcon and let me take a look at the read. So I suppose the read may return like end of file or something like that when the connection got closed. Or something. So maybe that's how we're going to indicate that. And by the way, the order is incorrect. The order is incorrect in here. Right. If error is like not nil, what we want to do essentially, is, I don't know, just close the connection, I think. Right. So just close the connection. Simply close the connection and exit. If we manage to read something, we have the buffer and we have the size. How can I turn, you know, that into a string? I can probably try to do something like this. I can try to do something like this and then say like this, and this is a string, and maybe I can send all of that into the channel. Is this how you send things into the channel? Do we have any professional Go developers in the chat? Right. So because I don't quite remember. So yeah. So let me see. So you receive from the channel and stuff like that. Okay. So Go channels. I'm gonna go to G. So the channel, oh yeah, it's the other way around. So channel comes here and you send in the data into the channel. Right, there we go. So that's how we do that. That's how we do it. Cool. So if we try to compile this entire thing, go build main.go. So can it use buffer? Oh, this one is very interesting. Okay, so I banned that person for nothing. Variable of type and of this one cannot be. Okay, so let's actually unban them. Alright, so I unbanned them. Fuck. Alright. So yeah, essentially. Okay, so I hope they're gonna forgive me for that. Fuck. Now I feel bad. So I would like to issue an apology to that person. So I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay, so the fact that you have to put a slice in there, right? So the fact that you need to put the slice in there probably means that it's going to be expanded, right? So it probably means that you're going to be expanded. But how can I limit the amount of stuff, right? How can I limit the amount of stuff? That's very interesting. Though, right, so I remember people were suggesting to like a make, you know, this thing. Just a second, I want to see make, yeah, make byte 512, right, make byte 512, and okay, so, and maybe that kind of limits this entire thing. It's still an open question actually, whether it's gonna be resized or not. I don't really know. Okay, so let's actually not waste too much time on this kind of thing, right? So let's not waste too much time on this kind of thing. Right, so let's create a separate channel. So we accepted the connection, right? So we accepted the connection, and we need to create a channel. So make chan string, and this is going to be outgoing, right? So this is going to be outgoing, and this is outgoing. There we go. So somebody says it's not going to resize them, it just wants a slice without some capacity. Okay, so we need to ban that person back then. So okay, I don't want to ban this person back again, by the way. So I actually didn't want to ban them in the first place. So they are unbanned and everything's fine. Right. Welcome to Tsoding channel. Okay, so this is outgoing, and we'll just do it like that. Okay, that's cool. Now we need some sort of like a architecture where we have some like main thread that keeps track of all of the connections, right? It keeps track of all of the connections, and when it receives something from one of these channels, right, it basically sends back all of this thing to everyone. Right, it sends it back to everyone. So how can we organize all of that? So I heard people say that it's some sort of like a pub sub pattern, right? So it's a pub sub pattern. Maybe that's what we are implementing, but I'm not a professional in this kind of development, so I don't really know. I'm just like, making shit up. I'm simply making shit up. So, and let's create like a server, right? So we have a server thingy, and in here we're gonna be probably having a channel, right? So this is basically a channel. I don't know how to call it, but I want it to be a channel of things. Basically, the pairs that contain a connection and outgoing, right? A connection and outgoing. But I don't really know how to call that particular structure. So I want to call it connection, but connection is already sort of taken, right? So the connection is already sort of taken. Maybe I'm going to call it chatter, right? So we can call it this entire thing chatter, and it has a connection, right? It has a connection and a channel through which we're receiving all of these things. So essentially it's this thing, right? So it's basically this thing. Client, people are suggesting client. Okay, so client maybe is a good thing in here. So client. So outgoing, right, and through this thing we are receiving the messages, right? So through this thing we are receiving the messages, and we have a channel of this sort of clients, right? So when the clients come in, we receive notification that okay, a client just came in, a new client just came in, or something like that. So, and this is going to be like a separate thread, right? It's going to be a separate thread. And we're going to be sending stuff in there. To be fair, maybe server should... So what I was thinking is that we would maintain a list of clients, right? So we would have a list of clients of some sort, right? So this is going to be client. A list of clients, and every time we receive a new client, we would just push that client in there, and then essentially we're going to be pulling stuff from their outgoing messages, right? So we're going to be pulling stuff from their outgoing messages, and every time we receive something from one of the messages, we're going to be sending it back to the connection. So essentially, yeah, things like IO urine, I think somebody was mentioning, or something like that, right? So probably the way I implement that is extremely dumb, right? But I'm just experimenting, right? So I'm just experimenting. So what I want to do, golang channel select, that's probably what we need in here, right? So channel select, some sort of a queue. Yeah, we need some sort of a queue. I don't want to use go by example, but maybe go by example is exactly what we need. So okay, we select and we have the case. So if we received something from this message, that's very interesting. That is very interesting. So essentially you can sort of listen to two channels simultaneously, and when you receive something from one of them, you can dispatch on that. But what if we have like a variable amount of channels, right? What if you have a variable amount of channels? How can you wait on all of them? So I didn't think you can easily wait on all of them. So this is not particularly what we want. So for range, yeah, we can do it like that. For clients, but I don't really like it this way. Maybe it would be better, like a completely different approach. It would be to have like a message type. You know what I'm talking about? So essentially message type, we could have a single channel for all of the users. Yeah, exactly. Right, so a single channel for all of these users. So essentially connecting a new user is a special kind of message, right? It's a special kind of message. And the message from one of the users is also a special kind of message. So what we can do, right, so maybe we can create a message, and the message need to have a type, right? So type message type, and then we can have message type. By the way, how do you do enumerations in Go? Go in num. Go in num, declare go in num. I remember that you use iota or something like that. Worst num ever coming. Yeah, it's all right, I suppose. I wouldn't say it's super bad, but yeah, const this kind of thing. So just a second. So Spring, it's yeah, they usually define like a type message type integer, right? And then we say, and what kind of messages we can have connected, client connected. So this is the message type, and just iota. Let's say iota +1, but I mean, yeah, let's actually deploy iota +1. So client connected, new message, right? So new message is the second sort of type. And essentially for the new clients, right? So for the new client, you can have a connection, right? So you do want to have this connection. And for the new message, you may want to have the message, right? So yeah, depending on the type, you're gonna have one of these things, right? And the server just receives the messages, right? So it receives the messages. And this is the message. So yeah. And when we have clients, we just have connections in here, right? So we have connections. And then we're just in a loop, iterating through all of that. So we do select. And how do you do select? Already forgot how to do select. Yeah, so we just do select case mcg, and it's just like, yeah, we're reading from the messages. So probably we don't even have to do it like that. We can probably do it like that, can't we? I'm pretty sure we can just do it like that, just simply like that. So, and then we can do switch message type, right? So we do switch message type, and depending on the type, we can do new, so client connected, right? So it's a client connected, and the new message, right? So new message. And so when the client connected, so what we want to do, we want to just append clients message connection, and we reassign the clients like so. If it's a new message, this one is very interesting. We probably want to do range. All right, we do range, and I want to take a look at each individual client in here. I'm taking a look at each individual client in here. Maybe I'm going to even call it something like con. Maybe all of that makes sense to call cons. Right, so for the consistency, so to speak. Right, for the consistency. And we want to send out the messages to all of them. Right. We want to send out the messages to all of them. So con write. Yeah, we're going to do write. So and message. Let's call it text. Let's actually call it text. By the way, when the message type is a new message, we can use connection as the connection of the author. That's actually a very interesting idea. Wait a second. Well, I mean, but I don't think it's going to be super useful, but I mean, it's just something to think about. But anyway. So here's the text, and we'll probably need to make it like bytes, right? So we need to make it sort of like bytes. And here's the interesting thing. If we couldn't write something for a particular user, we should probably maybe nuke that user out of the queue, of the list. Right, so we need to nuke that user out. We'll see how we're gonna go about that. So error not equal nil. Right, so error not equal nil. So, but what's gonna be the easiest way to do that? Actually, what's gonna be the easiest way to do that? Because you can't just nuke that user out very easily. All right, you can't just nuke that user out very easily. Maybe you can mark that user to delete later. So yeah, we can just do fmt println could not send data to and let's just do s because of s. Right, so we can do safe remote address, right? So we have a safe remote address for that specific connection. Can you see shit? You probably can't see shit in this mist. I can't see shit either, but that's fine. Right, so remove the address and the error. So and then we skip. So then later maybe we want to do something like remove the connection from the list. Right, so essentially what we can do in the future is just like mark it as dead and then clean it up later or something like that. Clean it up later. So yeah, that's basically it, right? So I suppose it's gonna send all of them out to like there. Okay, so once we accepted connections, right? So this is messages. Let's go to the compilation errors because I'm pretty sure compilation errors will tell me what is going on in here. So connections is you know, list of these things. Messages assignment. So I suppose first is n, right? First is n is not used. I can probably do something like this then. Undefined fmt, this has to be a log. All right, so everything seems to be compiling. Surprisingly, I didn't really expect, but this is probably because I didn't even try to do a Go server. So without this, it's kind of pointless, right? Because you have to provide the channel of the messages. So we have to do message make a channel message, right? So we're creating a bunch of messages in here, and then we'll have to put this thing in here. Right, there we go. So, and now we should be able to use the messages to, you know, notify the server about new connections and stuff like that. Right, so that's what we'll need to do in here. So let me think. So we can do messages. So, and we want to send a new message, right? So we want to send a new message where the type, is this how we do that? I don't quite remember. So client connected, right? So client connected, and we can actually do connection like so, right? So this is how we can send. It looks actually kind of nice. I really like how it looks like. So, and in here we can have like a client, right? So here is the client. So handle connection client, and we pass a connection in there, and I suppose we also pass messages, because this is from where we're going to be sending all of that stuff, right? So this is the messages. This is a single message, and when we are receiving some of the data, we're sending those messages into that queue, right? So this is going to be message, and essentially the type is going to be new message, right? So it's going to be new message. There we go. And the text, right? So this has to be like this. The text is going to be buffer 0n, and then we make it a string, and that's basically it, right? So we can always set the connection to connection, as I already said, but I don't think it's that important, but we can do that. We can essentially do that. So anyway, another interesting thing we can do in here, by the way, if this entire thing failed, instead of closing it ourselves, we can send to the server, please kill me, right? So essentially, yeah, delete client. Is that a good idea, by the way? Right, essentially, if we couldn't read something, right, if we couldn't read something from somewhere, we just ask delete that specific client. And yeah, and essentially one of the things we can have in here, right? So client connected, delete clients. So this is going to be case, delete client. And in here, we get mcg connection. We can just like literally close that connection. And now we have to remove that connection from the list of connections. So something like that. But how can we find it in here? How can we find that specific connection? Is there some sort of an ID that we can use to identify the connection? Is there some sort of equality for the connection? Right, so that's a very good question. So docnetcon, right, docnetcon. So we can use a remote address as the sort of like the ID, as sort of the ID. So let's take a look at the remote address. What the hell is that? It's some sort of an address. So what is address? Address is an interface, and it also has a string. Okay, we can use that string. So that's not that bad of an idea. So network, it's either TCP or UDP, and string is that specific string. Okay, we can probably like literally use that. If I want to remove something from the slice, is there any useful utility for that specifically? Is there any useful utility for that specifically? That will also sort of shift this thing. Yeah, right, so essentially I have a slice, a dynamic array, right, and then I can say I want to delete something like C, and I want this thing to actually shift this thing around like that. Is there something like that? If not, let's just use map. You know what I'm talking about? Right. If not, let's just use map. And in here, we could use literally the remote address string. So there's a slices package, right? So we can take a look. Slices. Is that a standard? Okay. Delete. Oh, holy sh! Is that generics? Pork chop. Pork chop. Oh, 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 oh. Anyway, so do I want to use that? I was already kind of prepared to use maps. Nah, let's use maps. I mean, it's cool and all, but I want to use maps, really. So it makes sense to have this kind of thing in here, right? So you have a string, you have a connection and stuff like that. It just makes sense, right? So it just makes sense. So yeah, and remote connection, by the way, it contains your IP and the port. So it's kind of unique in a sense, right? Because the remote thing also assigns a special port for you. Right. So I think that makes sense. So and client deleted. Okay, so go lang delete from map. How do you do that? How do you delete from map? Dictionary. You can't spell dictionary without a d. So we just do delete, right? So that makes sense. Okay. Delete cons, and then we do message con. Remote ADDR string, something like this. Something like this. What the fuck did I just do? I'm an idiot. All right. I mean, I want to do that, but here. Okay, so that makes sense. But in here, I want to do cons msg con remote address string equal to the message connection that I'm trying to set in here. So this is we're adding this thing, and here we are deleting this thing. And as we iterate through this entire stuff, we're just sending that message to everyone, so to speak. So we could not set data. Hopefully, when you can't set the data, it's gonna crash in the client. It's gonna crash in the client, and the client will ask, "Please delete me." And by the way, I think one of the things we have to do in here, is just msg connection close. Who's supposed to close this thing, by the way? Who's supposed to close? I think we can close it in here, right? So con close. If you try to write into thing that is closed, it's gonna probably log an error, but it doesn't really matter that much. So I guess that's fine. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so let's go to the compilation errors and see if we can do some scheiße, epic scheiße. Okay, so what's that? That's too easy. And I don't even know Go. Like, what the fuck? And that's why sometimes I'm scared of the messages in the chat saying that some slices could be resized, because I don't know Go. Like people, I saw people saying like, how that single message actually like stopped my entire process. I don't know Go. I batshit scared of this language. I have no idea what the fuck to expect from it. So that's why it kind of stalled me, right? It's so easy to confuse me because I have no idea what to expect from this thing. This thing looks like C, but it's very much dynamic, and it's trying to be, you know, user-friendly. And user-friendly, by the way, for me is a huge red flag. That means the language is going to go into really weird technical decisions to satisfy some very specific use case for people who are not that really familiar with programming, and I can't predict those use cases. So, right. So, and here is an interesting thing. Something like a newbie friendly is very professional hostile. This is a very important thing. Something that is meant to be user friendly is very hostile to professionals and people who know what the fuck they're doing. Because to make it newbie friendly, you have to make very questionable technical decisions, right? So just look at JavaScript. Just look at JavaScript. It's a language designed to be newbie friendly, right? But once you start doing something more sophisticated with it, all of these technical decisions that meant to be newbie friendly, they fall apart and actually shoot your leg like crazy, like a minigun. So you see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? Like this is a good example, actually, right? This is a very good example. So somebody actually, you know, provided a good example. Exactly. this could be very much newbie friendly. Newbies who don't know how to do programming would be super happy that this is true. They would be extremely fucking happy. Any serious software developers, any professionals, well, they're gonna be screaming in horror looking at that. Like, what the fuck? And because of that, I'm batshit scared of Go. Because it wants to be this, like, newbie friendly, and because of that, I can expect all sorts of shit from it. For example, resizing the slice on read from a raw socket. I can fucking expect that because it wants to be newbie friendly. So does it make sense? Does it make sense why that specific sort of message from the video actually stalled me? Look, I'm trying to show you my perspective, right? So I'm trying to show you my perspective. What do we, like, I think that's basically everything we wanted to do in here, right? So that's basically everything. And all of that stuff compiled. Let's actually disable the safe mode. Right, so remote address. We don't really use remote address directly. Well, I mean, we don't log a remote address directly anywhere. We still use it for the you know, identification purposes. But yeah. So I wasn't paying attention to adding likes or dislikes Go. I don't really view languages like that, so that's the thing. I do not view languages like that. I can probably write in like a commercial project in this language, right? So I can see myself like using this language for money. So yeah. So whether I like it or not, I think it's kind of irrelevant, right? So it's kind of irrelevant, right? Whether I like it or not. So I think it's a passable language. Let's put it this way. It's a passable language. Okay. So let's try to run this thing. Let's try to run this thing. And it's listening to a port 6969. Can we now go to here? 6969. Okay. Accepted connection. So I can say hello. And it said hello back to me. Okay. So now I want to... Actually, I wanted to do something like this. Yeah. Can't you see shit? Okay, so that's cool. Now I can connect to another one. Telnet 27001 6969. Test. Hello. Hello. How are you doing? Good. It would be kind of nice maybe not to send your message back. That would be interesting. Right, so we can actually do Control-C. Can I do Control-C? Okay, so apparently I can't do Control-C, by the way. I can't do Control-C. So, but it says escape is this, so I control this thing. Okay, so, and then I can do close. Yeah, by the way, if you never know how to close the telnet, literally press Control-Shift closing bracket, Control-Shift closing bracket, it goes into this console and you can then close the connection. Right, so then we can do test, test, and it seems to be all right. So I don't really know what the fuck is going on. Right, so I don't know if it removed something or if it added something. I think we should log all of that. Right, so I think one of the things we probably want to do, May I pause for a second? Why the fuck all of that works? I just came up with the dumbest solution out of my ass, and it works. So okay, let's see how well it will work in the future. Anyway, so accepted a connection. Accepted a connection. So we may say something like this. So client connected. Okay, so let's log that. Log print f connected client as connected. Right, so that's basically what we got. And we're not going to be doing the remote address. We're going to do save remote address. Save remote address. And like so. So save remote address. So disconnected. So maybe because of that, this thing should not be delete client. It should be probably called something like client disconnected. Client delete client. Client disconnected. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So yeah, that's a good one, right? So client disconnected. So we do that, and we just delete this thing. Now we can say client this, send message this, right? And we have the connection that, and the message that we got in here is the text, right? So, and one of the things we probably want to do, right? We don't want to send the message back to the user. We don't want to send it back to the user, right? If connection remote address string not equal to message connection remote address string, only then we try to write that. And I feel like that specific connection should be called author, right? It's the author, right? So somebody connected, it's that connection. Somebody disconnected, it's that connection, right? And somebody wrote a message, it's that thing. So I think it makes a lot of sense to actually do it like that, right? So author or the user or something like that. That makes a lot of sense. So the user. Let's keep calling it connection. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. Especially I like that it's 4 characters, so it's all aligned. It looks nice. And we're slowly developing Discord. Have you guys noticed that we're basically developing Discord? All right. So wait, why the fuck did it compile? Did it just compile? Okay. So here we accepted connection. Maybe we don't have to Discord that you can't leave. You can just disconnect. I mean, come on. Client. So where is the client thread? I want to find the client thread. Client. So do we want to log anything in here? We're gonna be logging shit in case of an error. Yeah, we need to log this thing. Log print f could not read from client. Let's put s because of s. Safe remote address connection error. I think that's important. Error not equal nil. We log in here. We log in here. We do log in here. We do log in here. Right. So I just want to make sure that we log in all of these situations. And okay. So let's start. So telnet. Okay. So client this connected. Test. I didn't receive message test back, so that's kind of important. That is kind of important, by the way. Right, so now what I can do, I can try to connect here as well, and I can say test. I didn't receive my test back, but I received this test in here. Hello, it's me. Yo. So, so the only way to exit is to press Ctrl-Shift, closing curly brace, and then close. Maybe, right, by the way, did it say, okay, and the file could not read from this one, user disconnected. Right, so that is good. Okay, so that is actually good because we got end of file. But we can still send messages from this one, Ctrl-Shift, close. All right, so fair enough. So maybe we could introduce some sort of a special command. Maybe we could introduce some sort of special command that would basically help us to essentially quit. Right, to essentially quit. We can handle that command on a client, I think. Right, so we received that thing in here. So here is the buffer, 0n. So we can maybe put it like this. So here is the text. If text is equal to, let's say, quit, then we will basically quit. Right. So that will be interesting. We could introduce like a whole system of commands. We could introduce a whole system of commands where essentially, so you would say send message, right? So send message and quit or something like that. And if you send like something incorrect, it's gonna reject that and do nothing. Right. So yeah, we can try that. But maybe not. So let's actually try to deploy this thing as it is. What do you guys think? Let's try to deploy this stuff as it is. I think that would be actually kind of interesting. Command parsing. Yeah, command parsing would be interesting, I think. Command parsing would be interesting. So, okay, so I'm running this entire thing. I need to test the safe mode, right? So we're going to test the safe mode. Yeah, somebody noticed a very interesting thing. Replace send with prevmsg and you got yourself IRC. Yeah, basically. All right, so we are in a safe mode. All right, so we are in a safe mode. I'm going to do it like that. And telnet. Okay, so everything is reducted in here, and everything is reducted. Test. Test. Okay, so looks okay. So what if I send actually something longer than the the size of the buffer or whatnot? That will be interesting. So and in here we can just do something like this. So can you send some garbage that is not UTF friendly? Right, I'm pretty sure. Like there is a case when you can crash the server if it cannot construct a string out of the buffer. So I feel like there is a way this thing may crash. Right. So it's gonna be like that. I'm gonna close this entire thing. So if you send some sort of a garbage, you can probably potentially crash it. So netcat, can we do that through netcat? So you can listen, but then you can send some shit. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. All right. I mean, we can try. Okay. So we can probably try it. So you basically can DDoS this entire thing, right? You can not DDoS, but just like do denial of service by crashing this entire thing. Well, let's see how it looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys hack this server. Right, so I'm gonna let you guys hack this server and see how it will go. Okay, so we're gonna do build. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Okay, so let's not build it. Let's actually go straight up into here. Right, so let's do SCP to your mom. We're SCP'd right into your mom. And let's actually do your mom. SSH into your mom. So do I have TMUX? Okay, TMUX is that. So what do we have? I want to take a look at the main go. So what is... Oh, I see. That's really weird. So let me actually remove this thing. I don't think it's needed. So go build main go. Right. So okay. Does anybody remember the IP of the server? Does anybody remember the IP of the server? So SSH config. So this is the IP of the server. And okay. So thank you so much. Freaking. So that's what happens when you leak your IP on the internet, am I right? Right, so I'm gonna run it now. Why is this so fucking funny? I love it. It doesn't crash, right? It didn't crash for some reason. That's really weird. Why wouldn't it crash? The browser, yeah, somebody opened this shit with the browser, right? Somebody straight up opened it with the browser. So it will just fuck your terminal. All right, so so remote address. Let me double check that when I call to remote address, all right, so I don't call it directly because I've seen something sus. I think I don't log that shit directly. Isn't unsafe since it runs escape carry sequences in general. Yeah, it is rather unsafe because it can fuck up my terminal. Right, but I mean, we've seen some stuff in here, so that was fun. That was actually fun. Yeah, I saw somebody's IP, so it's just kind of a bad thing. So I hope it's nobody's like actual IP and they are over VPN. So there is a little bit of a risk. So be careful with this kind of shit. So yeah, remote address. I think I screened all of them. Right, I'm pretty sure I screened all of them. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably from the panic. Right. I mean, the browser people probably gave it cookie and everything. I mean, you can't really give any sensitive cookies because they don't have any sensitive cookies set for that specific IP, right? So because cookies are they attached to the host, right? So when you connect first to the website gives you the cookie, so browser remembers that, and then it gives it back. Since they never visited that IP ever, their browser didn't send anything useful to us anyway. So I think that's fine. Maybe you should add some message cooldown so people can't spam. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. My cookies are attached to you, Mom. Okay, that's a good one. All right, so let's actually... I'm surprised you guys didn't fucking crash my entire server, which is kind of cool. So that was like literally DDoS and it was fine. So that's kind of interesting. So how can we do the... Yeah, it's I'm surprised it just worked fine. So yeah, anyway. So we could also reduce the size of the message, right? So we could try to reduce the size of the message. Maybe 64. So how are we gonna be doing all of that? Military grade RC, yeah, exactly. We can essentially attach additional information to the connection in here. Is breaking into the server a fire game? Please don't do that. Please don't try to break into the server. Right. But I mean, this is a throwaway server. I'm probably gonna delete it after the stream, so... I'm already into the surging server, really? I can actually check that very easily. No, you're not. You're a liar. Okay. Ban him. No, I'm not gonna ban him. I already banned one person today and I felt bad and I unbanned them. So, yeah, we're gonna do that again. I already done enough stupid shit today. And that doesn't include exposing my application onto the internet, right? So this is not the dumbest shit I've done today, so let's put it this way. So we can maybe store additional information in here. Right, so let's actually do client or user or something like that. And in here, we're going to be What if Sodin cares if I dump a URL to my server so the horde can crash it? We're just trying to make a chat application. Could you please know? Thank you. Okay, so this is the connection. And here we can store the time of the last send message, right? So the client will store the time of last message, right? So this is what we can do. Last message, and so let's give it a try. Go doc time. Does it contain like all of the necessary information in there? So time represents the instant time within nanosecond precision. That is very good. Do you have something like now? You do have something like now. That's actually very good. I really like that. Okay. Time. We may want to include that as well. So this is going to be time. It should have compare function. So can't you just do equals? Or I mean, for the time you probably don't. So there's a compare. Compares the time instant t with u. If t is before u, it returns -1. There should be something like delta maybe. Okay, so let's take a look. Delta diff. So duration since. Right. So yeah, interesting. So, but specifically for the time, parse now, date, parse and location, it doesn't really have this kind of thing. Duration. Duration. Anyway, whatever. So this is not what's important right now. So this is the connection. This is the one of the client. This is another sort of thing. If we received a new message, so we can have something like now. And so what do we do with the rate limit? We can just block the message. We can simply block the message until the rate limit expired. Right, so for example, maybe you can send one message per second. Sounds good. So now time now. So this is what we've got. Then we need to get the current client somehow. So we have this thing. So we can have a connections like this, but this has to be like sort of like clients, right? So this is the clients, and this is the client. So we got the client. We may want to even have maybe an address. It's important to not accidentally log it, right? So we're gonna have something like this. And so if I have something like since, I'm still not sure like how to find the duration, right? So is there something that returns the duration? Oh yeah, okay. So you have type duration and it accepts method since. I don't quite understand how is that supposed to be. So the first argument is going to be duration, but the second one is going to be time. So I'm not sure how to do that. Duration any new. Okay, so golang difference between time. So there is a time sub. No, there's no such thing. Mods. You know what happens to people who lie to me? Oh, there is such thing. Okay. You may use time sub. Okay. So there is such thing. Okay. All right. We can do that. Maybe it just doesn't show the whole thing. Oh fuck! It doesn't show the whole thing. It's so confusing, actually. What the fuck? Okay, so okay, I see. God damn it! This thing is actually like too confusing for me. So subtract. What we want to do? We want to maybe just subtract, like now this thing. All right, subtract the client's address. Last. What was the last message? Right. So last message. And that should give us the duration, right? And then having the duration, what we can do with the duration. So we can take a look at that thing in seconds. Okay, so we can basically take the seconds, and if the thing less, like maybe greater than 1 second, right? So you can send a message once per second. If this thing is greater than that, only then we allow you to send a message to everyone, right? And once we send a message to everyone, right? Once we send a message to everyone, we're gonna actually set this thing to that. So maybe we can do something like this, right? So we have an address. Now we get the client, right? So we get the client last message. We send the last message to that. We might as well also basically put the client like this, but this is going to make a copy, so we probably want to take a pointer to the client, so because we're going to be modifying this entire thing, right? So we want to do something like that, right? We want to do something like that. So this is one of the, yeah, this is one of the existing clients, and this is the connection, this is like a remote connection, right? So this is basically an address. This is the remote address. Then we are iterating through all of the clients, right? So, and this one, this we could call it a client, but the word client is already taken by the sort of like the author, and maybe that's what we have to say. We have to call it an author, right? So this is the author. So we take now sub author last message seconds if it's greater or equal to 1 second, right? Something like that. We set last now client that thing sent. So this one is rather interesting. So we'll see. So it will say something useful. So here is the clients. All right, client connection remote address string, and this is the address not equal to that, and so on and so forth. So that's roughly what we want to have in here. So we can even have something like a message rate, right? Message rate, and we can put it in here. Message rate 1 second. We can even essentially put all of these things into a single block so it looks nice. Let's go through the compilation errors that we may have potentially in here. Let's go to the compilation errors. So, okay, what do we have? So now we're creating a new client, so that means we have to do it like that. So we have to create a connection, so that's the connection. And the last message, let's say that the last message is going to be literally now. So essentially you won't be able to connect and right away send things, right? So we'll have to wait for like 1 second. So I think that makes sense. Maybe if you basically violated this thing too many times, we could ban your IP. We could ban your IP entirely. So that's actually a very interesting idea. What don't you guys think? So just ban the user if they're, yeah, I think we need to do that. Just ban them for a certain amount of times and don't allow them to connect. That's very cool. That's actually getting very interesting. We're getting into sort of like a security and stuff like that. IP ban POC. Definitely no one can get around that. I mean, it's gonna just ban all of your IPs. So Or you want to basically essentially consume all of my memory with all of these IPs, or what? So you think I don't have? I have 8 gigabytes of RAM. So you think you can fill up all of the 8 gigabytes of RAM with IPs? Maybe you can. I don't fucking know. Maybe you're that powerful. So I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna even try to guess. So, anyways, so this is the clients. Right. So this is now clients. So client, message that, message this. All right. So cons, and what we're doing in here, we're just doing client delete. Interestingly, quite often, I think I will need this kind of thing pretty much everywhere, right? Don't I? Like message connection remote address, and maybe not. But we'll see. So client invalid operator. Address, really cannot take address of client's map index expression of and I think I even know why, because it can be moved in the memory. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. So all right, that means we literally have to refer to this thing as client's ADDR. Are you guys gonna copy paste this shit now? Okay, sure. So let me read it out. So, why are you so authoritarian, Soding? I came here to learn about programming and want to have to deal with getting banned if I make a suggestion that turns out to be wrong. Welcome to Tsoding channel. So what can I say? Nobody's holding you here. You can leave at any moment. Get fucking damned. Okay. Anyway. Whatever. So clients cannot assign struct field in map and defined con. Really? That's really strange. You can't last message. You can't assign shit in the map? Oh, it may not exist. Okay, I see. It may not exist actually. So how can I get a thing in map and check if it exists or not? So that's a good question. So make map of pointers. That's not a bad idea actually, believe it or not. It's not a bad idea. So something like this, right? And then something like this. Huh. So that means I can do something like author and just like this. Author. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Thank you so much. Undefined con. Okay. So we are taking. Okay, so this is a client con. All right. So this is a client con, and there we go. So there's another undefined thing, client con. Right. So that seems to be working. That seems to be it working. We can test it now, right? So let's go ahead and just test this entire thing. Let me see. So it's telnet. All right. So just ignores all of them. So just ignores all of them. Okay, so that's not bad. Now, what we can do, by the way, we can implement some sort of like a strike count. And essentially, every time you specifically trying to send this thing within the rate limit, we're gonna go ahead and increment your strike count. So, and what's interesting is that maybe we're gonna do the following things. So the strike count is gonna be reset like on actually successfully sending a message. And now, so we can essentially do the following thing: is outer strike count is greater than 10 or equal. We can essentially just go ahead and ban them. How can we ban them though? So we need to have a list of banned people, right? So we need to have a list of banned people. How can we store them? So we don't really have IPs, do we? Oh, I think we can. So go doc, what is that? Netcon, right? It's actually net address. So in the net address, we have a string. That's bad. Right, because in a string, it just like has like literally everything, right? It has literally everything. So let's take a look at the connection. Maybe the connection has something interesting. So there's a local address, a remote address, but nothing much, what else can I do? You're banning IPs, lol. Well, I mean, do I have anything else? Right, so I can't really hash. So people, the problem here is that I only have this string. So I only have this string and I need to extract the IP myself. Right, so do I have to extract the IP myself? Okay, so I can Google up go lang net get IP of connection. You can parse the ins. I don't want to do that. It's also, there's IPv6. How do I get network clients IP converted to a string in Golang? So they're using, okay, so they're using net connection. Ooh, really? Wait. How is, wait a freaking second. Okay, I see. So essentially, this is just an interface. This is just an interface, but the very specific thing is TCP address, right? So yeah, TCP address. And you have an IP in here. Okay. You have an IP in here, and essentially what you have to do, you have to explicitly cast the address to TCP address. And you can do that because we know 100% that this is a TCP connection, so we can do that. See what I'm talking about? That poggers. That is truly poggers minded for them. So now, what we have. So what is IP? Holy shit. Okay, can I do a string? So I can probably do a string of the IP. So that's pretty cool. Okay, good. Band MFS. So here we're gonna have the IP and band MF struct. So, and essentially, maybe we can actually have like a time when MF was actually banned. So people saying use hash of IPs, but I mean, it's going to be in a RAM. We're not going to be storing that in a hard drive yet. So as soon as I start storing it in a hard drive, I'll probably change it to hashes and stuff like that. But for now, I think it's fine. For now, I think it's fine. So banned MFs. How can I check when a particular MF was banned? So we got, yeah, so we client connected, right? So a particular client connected. So Golang check if map contains key. GoNet package has a shared interface. It's fine for what we're trying to do. Okay, so this is how we do that. Band at, so we have band at exists. Let's put it like band MFS, right? So, and essentially what we have to do, we have to, let's maybe take this as an address in here, but we're not going to take the string. Right, so then we're going to take an address and we're going to change it to TCP address. Right, so how were they doing that? How were they doing that? Yeah, so they will. So this is a pointer to net TCP address, so that's very cool. We might as well actually do that right in here. I think that's a very good idea. So this is going to be IP. And maybe it's going to be like a string, right? So, and essentially if banned, we're probably not going to do anything, right? So we're going to ignore. So the only thing we care about is when somebody is not banned, right? Though, okay, let's put it this way. If banned, we want to do the following thing. If banned at maybe time now sub banned at, so ban limit, we want to delete banned MFs. So this has to be like seconds, right? So let's do that in seconds. Banned MFs, and we just remove that specific thing. Otherwise, I have a feeling that can I break out of that switch, essentially? Can I break out of that switch? All right, because I just don't want to continue. You know what? I can probably do banned false. I don't want to return because that kills the entire thread. All right, so, but yeah. So essentially if banned, right, if banned, but this thing got that. Oh, wait a second. This is what we wanted to do actually. Yeah, okay. So if banned, but it's already more than banned limit, we remove MF from the list and we say it's not banned, then now this entire thing actually allows to connect. Right. So that's a good approach, I think. I do think so. Okay, cool. So what's going to be the band limit? What's going to be the band limit? Where is the const we have? Ban limit. The band limit is going to be 1 minute, 60 seconds, maybe even 2 minutes. Maybe, what about 10 minutes? Yeah, I think 10 minutes is actually good. 10 minutes. So for 10 minutes, you can't do anything. Yeah. So because I think it has to be like a very good punishment, right? So I think it has to be very good punishment. Okay. So if you are not banned, we do that. If you are, well, just close instantly. So, so pretty straightforward. Client disconnected and stuff like that. All right. So what I want to do in here, I want to change this thing maybe to what was the TCP address to this thing? Like so. So we have an address. How do we use an address? Yeah, so we're gonna use it as a string. also as a string. Yeah, that's cool. So if we are about to ban a motherfucker, MF, I mean. So how are we going to be doing all of that? So that user actually, you know, been sending too much. They've been sending too much. They've been naughty boys and girls. Right, so we'll have to ban MF. So ADDR IP string, and we're gonna put now in here. Right, we're gonna put now, and we essentially going to close their connection, right? So it's the author connection close. That's it. And here, remove the connection from this. I think we don't have to do that anymore because it's going to be done automatically by that thread. So I think that's fine. Right, that is fine. One of the things we can try to do, we can try to close that. But in any case, I think that's fine. Okay, so let me try to build main.go. And it builds, surprisingly it builds. It's a little bit messy. I would like to make it a little bit more pretty, if you know what I'm talking about. Just a tiny bit pretty, especially in here. So here is the address. So this is more of an author address. Right, so this is more of an author address. So let's go in here. Declared but not used, but that's fine. Author address. And then we have that author address. And this is author address IP. So that makes it a little bit better. So author address, author now. So last message from now rate limit. We modify that. So client sent message. You know what? I think instead of safe remote address, we need to have something like unsafe logging, right? Maybe sensitive, right? So message string and return the string. And this is basically what we want to do in here. Right, so it's some sort of like a guard. Right, so you have a sensitive message, right? Sensitive and stuff like that. All right, so let me see. So because it makes it kind of easy to do, because we have an address, right? So that means it's easy to do sensitive address string, right? You see? And since it's a very specific word, it makes it easy to just search for sensitive like information within the source code. So I think that's a little bit better. Right. So here we have a similar thing as well. So I might as well want to do something like that and just do sensitive. What was that, by the way, here? Yeah, sensitive like this, address string, delete address string. There we go. Sensitive author address string. Anything else? Oh, and this one is very interesting because we're doing that for that specific client, right? So sensitive. Okay, client connection address string. So that's a completely different one. So is it something? Is that a function? Wait. Remote address. Excuse me. Sensitive connection remote address string. All right. So that's cool. So we're in a safe mode. Let's actually disable it for now. One of the things, how can we test all of that? How can we test all of that? We can probably do netcat. Well, I mean, it's the rate limit where it's 10 actually, right? So strike limit. So this is going to be strike limit. It's going to be 10. So that's the parameters that we have. So let's do run. Okay. Telnet. Hello. I can't really overfill that thing, unfortunately. So let me maybe reduce, because I want to just see. I just want to see this thing. Oh, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah. So let's actually try to do that. I think that will be good. So I don't know why I didn't think about that. So cut def urandom, right? So and nc 2027 001 6969. Yeah, there we go, and it just closed you automatically. And if I try to connect now, it doesn't allow you to connect. It just doesn't allow you to connect, so it's gonna automatically ban you. So, and there is a so there is a little bit of a problem in here, by the way, in logging the errors. Fuck. Because logging the errors may reveal the IP. This is really, really bad, right? This is really, really bad, and this is something that we'll probably have to do something about. So let the user know that they're banned before connection. Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Banned MFS. All right, so banned MFS. Or maybe some way here we can just send to the user message connection. You are banned. Just replace IP with redacted. Not a bad idea, actually. Not a bad idea. You are banned. And this one is gonna just byte. It's gonna just byte. So yeah. You banned, motherfucker. That's funny. That's actually really funny. So you ban, motherfucker. We can also do that when we are like banning that person, right? So somewhere here. So this is the author connection. So we can also basically tell you how much time you have left. That's not a bad idea, actually, I think. Right, so how much time you have left. So with probably a new line in here, of course. You are banned enough. So we can try to do something like fmt sprintf. fmt sprintf, and so what we can print in here. So we know how much. Right, we know when you were banned. We know when you were banned. We also probably know now. So we can take now and subtract now sub banned at. So now sub banned at, and we probably want to take the seconds. Can you see? Okay, you can see that. And there was a limit, like a ban limit. Yeah. So, and it's going to be a float, so we can just like tell you in seconds how much time you have left. You're banned, motherfucker. So we can say something like that, sex left. Will you save the ban information and chat messages on Redis on this stream? I feel like not, because we're already kind of running out of time, so probably not. Sex left, right. But maybe we can do that in the future. Undefined FMT. Undefined FMT. But though, it would be kind of nice to do that on today's stream. What is this banned, not banned else structure? It's just a straightforward logic, right? So I'm checking whether the user is banned. If they're banned, but their ban has expired, they're not really banned anymore. So you see, this entire construction may change the status from banned to not banned. And then after that, we are already checking as a separate action, like whether the user banned. If the user is not banned, we adding them. If they're banned, we just telling them that they're banned. So essentially, I'm logically separating these two actions of checking whether they're banned and then removing them from banned, and then making a decision on like what to do with banned or not banned person, right? So because this thing may change the status. So it's sort of like, I think it's more straightforward this way, because like I'm like literally, you know, you can read the entire logic from top to bottom, right? So merging these two things into a single one is going to be huge pain in the ass, right? Specifically because of like this thing. So yeah. So how can we actually like get rid of the sensitive information? So let me give it a try, right? So I'm gonna start things like that, right? And by the way, restarting the entire thing actually cleans up the ban list. Right, kind of, yeah, you're banned, motherfucker. I really like that. Telnet 27001 6969. Okay, so this is how many secs you have left. Yeah, so we have to do something with that. Like, could not read from that. Read TCP. We can even simulate that, right? If I enable the safe mode. Right, so right now it is disabled, but we can enable it. Yep. So I can connect to this thing. I can say, hello, hi, right? And then I can, let's actually do something like this, quit. But then I can try to attack the server, and it says, you're banned, motherfucker. And then if I try to connect one more time, yeah, so this is the problem. This is a huge problem, in my opinion. This is like very, very bad. So read TCP 69 to. So what is this, by the way? Is that like a local or not local thing? Right. So as you can see, even in the sort of like a redacted node, could not read from. Right. So we have a could not read from. So it's that one. It happens on the client side. It happens on the client side, but do we even want to log that? Do we even want to log that? We can just like not log that. Could not. Yeah, I have a feeling that maybe it makes sense to even not care about this kind of logging. Right, so because logging these errors may expose some nasty shit. Right. So let's maybe not log the error itself, because I feel like maybe the error is going to be very useful. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, wait, I can do sensitive on the whole error. Yeah, I could just do the sensitive on the whole error. What the fuck? All right. Who said I can't do that? Sensitive. Yeah. Makes sense. Where else do we log the error? Okay, could not listen. Let's put sensitive here as well, just in case. So I guess that's it. So I didn't really see. Could not accept connection. Okay, so that makes sense. I guess that's it. All right, so all of that stuff could be sensitive. Yep. So, and obviously we want to actually turn them into strings. Thank you so much, Go Compiler. Very, very cool. We want to turn them into strings. String like that. There we go. What? Am I an idiot? Type error has no field or method string. Is that error? Yeah, it is error. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what we can do in here, telnet. Hello. How are you, my friend? And let's do another one. Telnet. So what if you have several connections from the same IP? That's a very interesting question. By the way, so one connection is going to actually survive. Test. Yo. What's up? Okay, so we're going to actually close this entire thing and let's do NC. Yeah, you're banned, motherfucker. I can still send, yeah, I can, this connection's still here, even though it's from the banned IP. It's from a banned IP, but it's a different port. Right, so, and now if I try to connect here, you banned, motherfucker, this amount of seconds is left. Right, so, yeah, there we go. That's pretty cool. So we have a pretty cool DDoS attack protection. Some sort of a DDoS attack. DDoS! I feel so old. Okay, it's gonna be close. Okay, so what else can we do in here? What else can we do in here? So the user can still kind of overwhelm us with log messages in some sense when like could not read, right? They're gonna be still sending could not read shit. They still can send this kind of stuff. So maybe maybe we should not do that, right? If in safe mode. Not in safe mode, do that. I feel like these particular error messages are kind of useless, aren't they? How often people like log these kind of things? What do you guys think? Like I have a feeling that logging errors on read and logging errors on write are kind of pointless. You want to handle them, right? But yeah. I don't know, do you need Go client connection after closing a ban connection? If I close it, this will trigger this error, and I suppose just stop everything. So what do you guys think? I need your expert opinion. Does it make sense to log errors on reads and writes? It makes sense to handle them, but logging them, you know what I'm talking about? Like just logging them, I feel like it doesn't make any sense and it only creates more problems that actually solves. Right. So because the attacker, for instance, can, even if they're banned, they can overwhelm us with these errors, at least in this specific case. All right, so, and because of that, I don't feel like it makes sense to actually do all of that. Right. So we can just put it like that. So we have that in here and in here when somebody got banned and everything. Client disconnected. Okay. So we can now try to, yeah, essentially deploy this entire thing. So we're in a safe mode, right? So we are in a safe mode. Man, it would be really cool to like integrate that with Redis. For instance, storing this in Redis would be perfect, I think. And even persisting that. Right, even persisting that. So, I don't know, have you noticed that word Redis is such a funny word? Don't you find this word funny? It's to me, it's as funny as Bepis. It's just a funny word. I don't know why. Maybe something wrong with my with my brain, but the reason. So anyway, let me see what we have in here. Okay, good. I need to probably go. I'm just double checking everything. I'm really paranoid about everything. Chat, do you remember the IP of the VPS? Do you remember? Should I give you the IP of the VPS? Show me the IP of the VPS. Thank you so much. This is the nightmare of any streamer. Like, imagine seeing that on a casual stream. It's just like, what the fuck? Holy shit! Oh. Anyway. Anyways, so I'm gonna go to maybe here, and I'm gonna CD, and I'm gonna SCP to your mom, SSH your mom. So do we have TeamUX? TeamUX A. Okay, TeamUX. So what do we have? Let me take a look at main.go. Okay, so we have everything new in here. Go build, and I'm gonna just go ahead and build main go. All right, are you guys ready? Are you guys motherfucking ready? Go. Fuck. What the fuck? That's something new. That's something interesting. Okay. So invalid memory address on new pointer dereference. At least we know where it happened. Right. So at least we kind of know. So we already got hacked apparently. Right. So that's very interesting. So let me see what exactly happened. Sub-author lost message. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. So that is very interesting. So author remote address. Huh. That is very strange. Why something like that would happen, by the way? Why something like that? It's interesting, like a lot of people actually connected right away. Debugging in production, yeah, exactly. Because when the client connects, right, so when the client successfully connects, right, so band, at, and band, right, so if it's band, it exists, right, so it exists, we put it in here, then, yeah, so essentially I would expect this thing to work out. Right, because it says that it didn't like that. Also, there is another line, which is 134, but it's not really that interesting. So the main thing happened here. The main thing happened here. And the only reason why it would happen like that is because author is null. But why would it be null? Is that because it's missing? Right, when you have a map of pointers, does map return null in case of missing something? I don't really know actually. Full go. Right, so func main, something like that. So it returns null in case of something is missing. Okay, so we can have access map, something like string, and a pointer to an integer, and then I can do fmt println access your mom. Right, and that means this entire thing would return null. Okay, package, let's do package main, sure, no big deal, and also maybe import fmt. Map type is another expression, okay, that's fine. Yeah, it returned null. Okay, so that's very interesting. So that means it couldn't find author string ID. Author string ID. So maybe last message before ban. This is a very good point. This is a very freaking good point. I think we should check whether the user exists or not. Exists. Right. And we should try to do all of that. Well, I mean, we don't really have to. We can just do if author, and yeah. So this is a good point. Yeah. So because you can have a situation when the user got banned, but they managed to still send something, and we can kind of need to process all of that. So essentially, we're gonna skip everyone who's already not in the connection list. We're just gonna drop them, just fuck them. Right. And funnily enough, maybe just in case, we can literally close their connection. Right. So essentially, just in case. So this is the connection. Maybe it's still active, but for some reason we still don't have that stuff in here. Just close it just in case. All right. So let's try to build this into, I think. Yeah, non-Boolean condition. Not equal nil. Okay, that's fine. So Go does not allow you to do things like that. All right, thank you whoever suggested that. That's a very interesting idea. Let's try to test that now. Right, so let's try to test the banning functionality. Right, and I'm gonna do telnet hi. Okay, so we received hi. So now let's DDoS this thing, and DDoS has been successfully done, and everything seems to be okie dokie karaoke. Okay, so the people are banned. Okay, so let me maybe detach. Can I detach very easily? Okay, so SCP your mom. Okay. So let me double check that we have the latest changes in here. So if author, okay, so this is the latest changes. Okay, that's very cool. Go build main go. Chat, do you remember the IP? Do you remember the IP? ICPP when IP. Okay, cool. Go. You, okay, so you still... We can, okay, I want to try to connect to the thing myself just to see. I'm gonna actually do that on a separate screen. Okay. Hi. Okay. I'm surprised that this thing stands, you know? I'm surprised that this thing stands, and it's working great. Right, it's still kind of difficult to see everything. Yeah, but it's like the conversation was more or less sane. So it's kind of working. Why is it red? This is because somebody sent the terminal escape keys, escape sequences, right? Because we don't really filter them out. Right, we do not filter them out. We can try to do that, right? So we can try to do that, because that would be interesting, right? So when we receive something from here, how can we even do all of that? Interestingly, we can just like iterate and only allow ASCII sequences. That's a very cool idea, right? For now, let's actually, for now, iterate and allow only ASCII sequences. So that's a good idea, I think. Right, so this is going to be buffer, and so let's actually iterate from 0 to n plus plus I or something like that. That's how we do that, right? So I think that's how we do that. No more auxiliary, yeah, I'm sorry, like, but we can add all of that later. Oh, okay, so you can validate UTF, validate that message UTF valid string. Okay, so that's a good idea, thank you. Go doc UTF-8, so do I have to... okay, valid string if do we want to ban the person if they send something invalid? But we have to do that only in here. Nah, let's not ban it. Let's just basically not send anything. Right, let's just basically not send anything. So this is the message, so message rate, and okay, so we are about to send the message, so msg text, and we're just sending the msg text. Okay, so msg text UTF-8 valid string. If it is a valid string, we are setting the last message to null. We reset the amount of strikes. Right, we reset the amount of strikes. And we are doing this kind of thing. Otherwise, we can increment the amount of strikes, actually. Oh yeah, that's very interesting. So there's two conditions when you could be automatically banned. That's not a bad idea, you know? That's not a bad idea. Right, so you're within the message rate, so there's a certain message rate. If you're send too much within the message rate, so you get that. So what's the strike limit? It's actually 10. Okay, so UTF-8. So let's include UTF-8. Maybe, yeah. So let me take a look at the doc. It's Unicode. Okay. Oh boy. All right. So let's now do the following thing. SCP. Search amount, Unix A. Main go. So valid string. Okay, so that's fine. Let's go build main go. Okay. Chat, remind everyone what's the IP. Because some people might be missing the IP. Please send the IP. The port is 6969. The port is 6969. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So thank you so much for the IP. You also sending that IP for me too. Telnet. Okay, we're gonna be connecting to that. Don't open it in a browser, for fuck's sake. Come on, don't open it in a browser. Yeah, surprisingly, it's kind of cool that the server withstands. Right. Fucking okay. So I do not approve of what's been on the screen, but yeah. So this is something that is expected with these kind of things, right? So you have to be careful. All right. So that's pretty cool. The next thing that I would like to do, right? So I'd like to move this thing to Redis. But I think I won't do that on today's stream, right? Because I'm already streaming for 3 hours, and today was a pretty intense stream. To be fair, at the beginning of the stream, I didn't know how to implement any of this stuff, honestly. Right. I didn't know how to implement any of this stuff. But now I kind of know. And I don't know, maybe the server got hacked already. Maybe it already got hacked. Maybe there is already backdoor in there. Right? Because do you remember that segmentation fault? I mean, segmentation fault was just like a null pointer exception. So yeah, but I mean, if somebody managed to remote code execute something within the server, so maybe there is a backdoor already. Somebody who owns a shell in there. So who fucking knows? So after this stream, I'm gonna literally reinstall the entire machine. Right, because who fucking knows? Maybe we have epic hackermans in the chat like that. So Yesu. Your mom's backdoor, yes. Fuck me. Yeah, your mom's backdoor, right? So let's commit all of that, shall we? Let's freaking commit all of that. So it's kind of cool that we did all of that with just like a standard library of Go, right? So I think that's pretty cool. So Yesu. Let me git ignore the main, and let's do license, and this is the MIT license. So do we want to do a readme? I don't really know. So chat, simple multi user chat in Go. Right, let's actually say multi-user chat. So let's set the quick start. And it can be Go build. So I don't use Go modules right now, but we're gonna do that later, right? So I'm gonna set up a proper Go project at some point. Why moving maps to Redis? This makes it easier to persist the data of banned people, right? So yeah, because I want to persist the banned MF map between the runs of the server, right? So I think that makes sense. We can even do something like run, right? So that's basically it. There's no configuration in here or anything like that. So git init, let's put it like that, and let's do a committee. Ready, set, a go. All right, we're gonna do it like that. And so let me close this entire thing. Erlang goated, but I mean, isn't Go basically like Erlang, right? So we're kind of using Go as Erlang in here. So I'm freaking out. Simple multi-user chat. So let's actually make it public. Create repository. So, and I'm gonna copy paste this thing and add origin like this, and let's push that. Let's make it default thingy. This looks like 4chan to me. Well, I mean, there's no moderation or anything like that, as you saw. Anyways, okay, here's the source code. If you ever wanted to play with this thing yourself, or maybe set up for yourself, so here's the source code with automatic rate limiting and auto banning and filtering and stuff like that. It's kind of funny that like you're just implementing a simple chat application on the internet, and this is like the first thing you have to implement. Like literally the first thing. Like without that thing, it's not functioning on the modern internet. Right. Will you accept a PR? Did you already send a PR? I may consider accepting the PR, right? If you suggest an interesting idea. So yeah. Okay, chat. Was it a fun stream? Was it a fun stream? Tell me. Tell me honestly, from the bottom of your heart, was it a fan stream? It was an interactive stream, right? So yeah, it was kind of cool. I kind of liked it. I don't know if I was hacked already or not. Maybe it's not that fun, but I mean, that's pretty cool. Right, I became completely authoritarian. Yes, of course, but it was worth it, I suppose. I suppose it was worth it. So yeah, so maybe in the future we're gonna do more streams like that. Right, so this was just basically the testing of this concept, of this idea, where I'm developing like a networking application, and we together right away, right on the stream, testing it, right? So people are trying to break it and stuff like that. I think that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. So in the future, maybe we can move on to more complicated applications like games. That sounds interesting. Like a network online games. And by the way, like the experience that we got from handling like rate limits and banning and stuff like that could be useful in games as well, because this is what you will have to do in games too. Some sort of like an online game where like everyone has like a small character and they can move around and interact with each other. It's not that fundamentally different from a chat actually, right? It's just like you translating text messages into commands for a character or something like that. And maybe you want to do that through a UDP server, right? So maybe you want to do that through a UDP server. And by the way, it would be kind of nice to have some sort of authentication for the server. So basically when you log in, when you connect, maybe you could provide login and password, but it's better to do that over the connection, over the SSL connection, or what is it called these days, TLS connection, right? So, but that means you won't be able to use telnet, right? So as soon as we go into the encrypted connection, you can't just use telnet. Is there something like telnet, but over SSL? It's SSH, right? It's called SSH. Telnet over the encrypted connection called SSH, right? Isn't it? Oh, there's some, yeah. So there's some client like net. Yeah, I remember that. I think it was SoCat or whatever. SoCat utility. Yeah, SoCat. So maybe something like SoCat could be used for this kind of thing. But it would be better to like have like a proper client. Right, that handles everything. All right, so I guess that's it for today. Thanks everyone who's watching me right now. I really appreciate that. I really hope that today's stream was fun. Have a good one, and I see you all on the next recreational programming session with Azuzin. I love you all. Mwah!